Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Now, we're all well aware of rampant misconduct within our federal agencies. Just off the top of my head, I can think of the IRS targeting conservative groups and then destroying any evidence of that, destroying the servers after they were subpoenaed. We've got the Department of Justice being complicit in shipping guns across the border, Operation Fast and Furious. Former Attorney General Eric Holder was held in contempt of Congress, and, nothing ever happened to him. Now he's at a cushy job at a law firm. So these are just a few of the examples of how our federal agencies are really dealing with their own set of rules. Now, joining me in studio, former IRS Special Agent Joe Banister and attorney Robert Bernhoft. Now, gentlemen, you really have kind of discovered evidence of kind of some secret police activities here. Legitimately, we are dealing with agencies operating under their own set of rules.
Yeah, that's right, Leanne. It is a sort of American secret police using illegally obtained secret evidence against American citizens and then lying and concealing the fact that they've done it. What's happening, and we have a case in Atlanta, Georgia, where we filed a federal civil rights complaint alleging that it's the first such case of its kind in the country in federal court. Joe's helping assist with his experience as a former special agent, decoding some of the reports and putting his fine eye on it. But here's what's happening. It's taken a turn for the worse, in addition to the things you've described. Federal law enforcement agents are now able to tap into a super double secret database of illegally obtained materials, foreign intel, illegally obtained wiretaps, unconstitutionally obtained statements from confidential informants, and this whole Pandora's box of illegal material. They're able to tap into it and then use it to start investigations against American citizens. It gets worse from there. They're then officially trained, and we've brought with us to the studio today an actual page from the Internal Revenue Manual where IRS special agents are actually trained on how to fabricate what they call parallelly construct an alternative origin of the investigation and source so that they can conceal the fact that they've tapped into the illegal Pandora's box. And then finally, they're authorized and trained to commit perjury, to file false affidavits, and even to lie to federal judges and juries if called upon to keep the whole program a secret.
Wow. So all things that if you or I were to conduct ourselves this way, we'd be serving years, lifetime in prison. And they're basically being trained in how to operate under this different sort of jurisdiction here. So tell me a little bit, what is this parallel construction?
Yes, the parallel construction aspect, it's an actual official program, and it's present in all of the federal law enforcement agencies. Reuters was able to find a document from 2004, which demonstrates that IRS special agents particularly were trained in parallel construction. And what it means is if I'm a special agent like Joe used to be, rather than just do the hard investigative work to detect criminal activity, I can tap into what's called the OSIDEFT Fusion Center at an undisclosed location on the East Coast. And they will feed me data that they think is relevant, let's say, to my Atlanta area of jurisdiction. This is all illegally and unconstitutionally obtained information. I start an investigation. Now I'm trained that I can never reveal where I got that information from. So I have to fabricate an alternative scenario. For example, Reuters used an example. Let's say that there's a tip that there's a semi-truck driving through Texas, and there's a foreign wiretap obtained illegally that suggests there's drugs on that semi-truck. Well, the state troopers will stop that truck, but afterwards they have to lie about the fact that they got that illegal tip. And so they'll create an alternative reality, such as, there was a broken taillight, or, we saw the driver swerve across the white line or the median line. And so these special agents are being trained to lie and deceive and conceal. I've been doing this for a long time. I've done a number of misconduct cases. I've never seen anything quite like this. It's shocking.
Right. And a lot of people might say, well, who cares? They're catching terrorists. They're catching these criminals that are shipping drugs across the border, things like that. But we're actually hearing now they're using this in the civil asset forfeiture cases. So just your average American could be targeted with this. and they don't even know how or why they were tipped off or why they got pulled over. And we have cases where there was a young man on a train who had $12,000 taken from him on the spot because he had cash and that was his money. But, the cop decided that he obtained it illegally. So now he has to go through the process and, show how he came across that cash and all of that. So this does affect an average American. So this is important. It's not just, oh, well, who cares? They're terrorists.
It always starts with the best stated intentions. The Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, which Joe used to be affiliated with as a special agent, it started off to get the really bad guys, syndicated narco-terrorists, violent international drug gangs. And so that's how the Special Operations Division Parallel Construction Program started. But immediately they expanded it to organized crime and money laundering. And now we know from our Atlanta federal civil rights suit that we investigated for 5 years before we brought the suit that they're targeting ordinary Americans who are not even accused of being organized crime figures. Mm-hmm. They have no involvement with money laundering. Jerry Marshalletta Jr. ran a successful drywall company. It's just, they tell us one thing, they get everybody on board, okay, we're gonna go after the really bad guys, dangerous individuals, right. And then they use that Pandora's box information and they can go after any American with this material, mm-hmm. and they'll lie about it.
Right, well, I know just for myself personally, years ago when I heard of them going and scanning your emails and things, it was to find pedophiles. And you think, oh, well, that's great. I don't want anyone, passing along child porn and stuff, but it's not. It goes so much deeper than that. And you're right. They're always kind of saying it's to catch the ultimate bad guy, but it's really for the average American. And so now this OSDEF Fusion Center, Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force. So this is fusion centers. I mean, these are all across the United States now, set up after 9/11. Is this a specific one or? Yes,
this is a specific fusion center where Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and their Special Operations Division, I know there's a lot of acronyms, mm-hmm. SOD, they have a special secret location where they have the DICE database in the Compass software computer system. And this is a special database that is used for parallel construction. It's the nexus of all of the materials that are then leaked out into all cities and districts throughout the country. And this is what IRS agents and FBI agents are tapping into. It's notable that, as Reuters reported last year, there was a case where a high-level policymaker at the Department of Justice actually made a secret visit to a federal district court judge's chambers 2 days before trial started, showed him some SOD, parallel construction evidence from Pandora's box, and got the judge to sign a secret order barring the defense lawyers or the prosecutor from seeing the material. This came out on appeal where the Third Circuit Court of Appeals discovered this. They were shocked and horrified, and they issued a notice that this had to be briefed. But the idea that an executive branch official from Department of Justice would violate federal law and go into a judge's chambers ex parte, that's a federal crime, and get the judge to sign a secret order in an open domestic case. When the FISA courts were established, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act courts, secret courts, they said, don't worry about the secret court proceedings. These are terrorists. Well, that sounds like FISA to me. And even in FISA, the government puts a public notice out that they're going to use secret evidence. So terrorists in FISA courts can have more rights than American citizens right now as to how this is being operated on the ground.
Okay, now we're going to cut this right here. We'll have a little bit more after the news. But Joe, I wanted to ask you, why is this so important that we understand that there are IRS agents utilizing this? And this particular document, you said, is no longer in their manual.
Well, as most Americans probably know, the IRS is an information gathering agency, and they want to know everything about you so that they can, tax you, not only maybe what you've paid on your tax return, but much, much more. The problem is that this kind of a procedure, it's actually geared towards taking down a great deal of people and using the fact that most cases plead out. They never get to trial where some of this stuff would be discovered. And most Americans are going to be in that boat, right? Like, wow, I'm facing, X number of decades in prison, X hundred thousands of fines. They're giving me a great deal. And so it enables them, because of the existing plea bargaining system, I'm not saying you don't plea bargain, but the fact that it's so prevalent to actually help them to cover this up.
Wow.
And so, working at the IRS, so now in the last century, back in 1999, I was floored back then in seeing what I was seeing. And now I hope that enough Americans are going to be like, okay, we all got to get going on this and put a stop to this. This is nasty stuff.
Right. Absolutely. And we've heard of stories where people will actually take the plea because they don't have the money to fight the case. And so maybe they're not even guilty, but they'll just accept the plea deal. You're telling me that they are committing perjury under oath.
Yes, but originally, of course, they said they wouldn't do that. When Reuters reporters contacted Department of Justice and DAA people, they said, oh, wait a minute now. If it doesn't plead out, we'll dismiss before trial. We would never have our special agents take the stand, swear to tell the truth, and then commit perjury before a jury. We would just dismiss it. That turns out to be a lie. And we know that because of our investigation into the Marshalletta case in Northern District of Georgia, and we filed a complaint there in early May. We'll get to discovery in a couple months. We'll be able to depose all these people. But during this trial, an ICE and Customs special agent and an IRS special agent committed streaming perjury regarding the source and the origin of the investigation. And we can prove that through about 100,000 pages of documents that we've diced together. So this isn't speculation. These aren't allegations. We can prove exactly where they got the information from and how they committed perjury to conceal it. So again, the government says, well, maybe you have questions about what we're doing here, but be sure we would never go into a trial setting before an Article III federal district court judge, before a jury, with a man or woman's liberty on the line. We would never commit perjury to protect OCDETF SOD parallel construction information. And they're lying about that as well, because they do it. They do it every day of the week, and they did it in the Marshalletta case.
And then, so in that case, let's see, who are we? There are many agencies: ICE, IRS, FBI agents, prosecutors, and a sitting federal judge.
Yes, one of the former prosecutors, Justin Anand, was then made a United States magistrate judge. It turns out that all the people that conspired to try and destroy Jerry Marshalletta, his father, his family, and the company he built over 20, 30 years, they were all promoted. It's just perverse.
Wow.
ICE Special Agent Sellers got a cherry job in D.C. in international operations. IRS Special Agent in charge, Andre Martin, he was promoted. He is in District of Columbia with a nice, excellent job up there. Former prosecutor Anand was made a U.S. magistrate judge. Everybody did well by conspiring to violate the Marshalletta's rights. And they all did well for keeping the secret. And that's what it was about. They lied, they fabricated evidence, they committed perjury to keep secret the origin of the false information against Jerry.
And can you explain to me a little bit about the Marshalletta case, just so we can see how anyone could see themselves in this situation?
Yes. Jerry owns a drywall company, and he was secretly investigated for about 5 years. In 7 years after the investigation started, he was indicted on tax charges. They were trumped up. There were no tax violations. I'm a criminal tax lawyer. I know a criminal tax case. And so it started in 1999. It didn't end until 2012. We came in after the trial, got all the convictions reversed on appeal, and then the government decided to retry the whole case. So we filed another motion alleging outrageous government misconduct. The judge finally dismissed the case in September 12th of 2012, just about a couple of years ago. And I've talked to Jerry over the years, and he's a rational, reasonable person, but he told me, people need to know what they did to me and my family so it doesn't happen to other people. File the suit. And so that's what brings us here today.
Wow. And Joe, is this something that you've come across before, people being kind of taken to the cleaners in this and just getting it drawn out year after year so that finally they'll just, they won't have the money or the wherewithal to be able to continue on?
Unfortunately, they were called stats, short for statistics in the government. And the better your stats, the better budget you would get, the next year, the more promotions. It's really all based on stats. And so if you have tools like this, as illegal as they might be, and they raise your stats, you're looking pretty and you're getting more promotions and transfers and you're just looking really good to the government bureaucracy. So I did see that, and it's continuing. It's just that now they're getting even more brazen. Before it might, we'll do some mostly legal stuff, or, we'll do things according to Hoyle. But now they're taking bedrock principles like telling the truth on the witness stand And you know what? It used to be bedrock, but we don't really need that anymore, because look at the stats we can get, and look how many people we get to plead out, and no one will ever know. It's a great system, and that's what I believe the thought process is there. And they lose touch with the real world, where those of us who get under investigation, as I've been, and Bob helped me, actually had the resources to be acquitted as I deserved. But most Americans don't have those resources, and it is just unconscionable. But all those Americans, before they get fingered with this stuff, we need to all join together and clean house.
Right. And most people might not even be aware that these type of programs exist, to be able to have their attorney say, how did you come across this, evidence? How did you build your case and all of that? So kind of like that don't ask, don't tell. If they don't ask, well, then they're not technically lying about it or withholding any information. Well, so what specifically can people do right now? I mean, this is huge. And so you're saying this is probably the first case of its kind that's going to really expose this activity. Where do we go from here?
This case, to our knowledge, is the first case in the country that alleges this type of perjury, fabrication of evidence, all pursuant to the parallel construction issue. We suspect there are hundreds, if not thousands, of others. But as you say, Leanne, if the defendants and the defense lawyers don't even know that this exists or could exist, they don't even know what questions to ask. And defense lawyers are telling me, well, now that we know about parallel construction, we kind of know what questions to ask, but we have no idea in our case if it was used. So we sent a letter to the prosecution saying, gosh, guys, did you violate the Constitution and laws of the United States and use the Pandora's box, OSADEF Fusion Center materials against my client? And you could imagine the prosecutor sends a letter back and says, gosh, no.
Yeah.
Well, where do you go from there? What process do they have to compel on oath representations and statements about that? And even if you compel it on oath, as evidenced by the Marshalletta trial in 2007, if you could call it a trial, they lie on oath.
Right.
So this is deeply troubling. What I would ask people to do is just to stay abreast of the developments in this area. Go back and read the Reuters articles from 2014 in August, from August 5 to about August 29th. They're relatively short, they're concise. They also have published the Internal Revenue Manual section that trains the IRS agents to do it. And keep track of the Marshalletta case. The Marshallettas could use some support in this. They've been fighting this fight for 15 years. And just people dropping them a line and saying, we support your efforts would be helpful.
Absolutely. You agree with that? Any closing words for the average American out there?
Well, the info warriors know what they're doing when it comes to spreading the word about things. And so you can, we've used a lot of acronyms, and this is all new. I've heard Alex talk about this a number of times, David Knight, many of the people here. So the concept is not new. Maybe some of the details are. But these people were wronged, the Marchallettas, and they are, there's a lot more that have been wrong that don't have the resources. So if you have a friend or a relative who's an attorney, mention the word parallel construction and have them watch this news show and, start to spread the word. And I think the word will spread fast, especially in D.C.
Yes.
Well, a lot of people didn't even know civil asset forfeiture existed in that program, or even Edward Snowden and everything that he revealed. So that was just a couple of years ago. We had no access to that information, and we have been conspiracy theorists for years. And now it's, here we have proof, we have evidence. And so hopefully this can be the beginning of dismantling all of that misconduct that's rampant right now in our federal government.
We're hopeful and we're grateful for the opportunity to talk about it tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
We remarked about how you get more pieces to the puzzle. Like, now I see how this fits here. And so we just, Bob's doing an amazing job in putting a lot more puzzle pieces into the puzzle. Right.
And that's really what it's all about, is just shining the light. And even if it's just little pieces, now we have a new piece of the puzzle. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate it.
To celebrate the birth of our country and give a big thanks to all the info warriors out there, we are now offering free shipping on every item shipped out of the InfoWarsStore.com warehouse. That's free shipping on all t-shirts, books, and DVDs. free shipping on Molon Labe and 1776 belt buckles, which are also 25% off while supplies last. Free shipping on all of our InfowarsLife.com nutraceuticals. If it's in the InfowarsStore.com warehouse, it's shipping for free, all during the month of July. It's our way of saying thanks to the true heart and soul of this operation, who stand beside us and support us as we wage an info war for liberty and freedom for all. InfowarsStore.com, free shipping for the month of July.
You are watching the Infowars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfowarsNews.com, and your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.